Intimacy, however, is what it's all about. Intimacy is the key. It is the conduit. It is the connection to and of the people. Conservatives embrace intimacy and uphold voluntary community versus involuntary collectivism. In a genuine community, there is intimacy where those decisions most affecting the people's lives should be made locally and voluntarily. The important thing is that these decisions and the economic impact thereof are local and intimate. Some of these are carried out by local governing bodies, others by private associations, but intimacy is most critical. However, more than 50% believe their voice, their input, has no impact whatsoever on local issues. On the other hand, when intimacy is usurped and these functions and decisions are made by a central authority and further removed from us, that is when our communities, our freedoms, and our way of life are jeopardized. Former Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill said that all politics is local. He recognized that the real power and influence are local, intimate. Intimacy and passion go hand in hand. The more intimate, the higher the passion. Our nation is no stronger than the numerous localized communities which comprise it. The same applies to our state. It is in the performance of these duties in our localized governments that teaches us prudence, efficiency, and charity, which are the principles on which FSPAR was founded. As I mentioned earlier, despite being retired from investment banking and venture capital, I still very much embrace the principles of free enterprise and capitalism. Most of my time was spent doing startups and turnarounds. This meant that I had to be revenue-driven and profit-motivated, which is totally overlooked in government. Nonprofits and government still have to focus on efficiency and effectiveness, which are crucial to survival, which is why I founded FSPAR to begin with. My involvement with politics started when I considered running for county commission. As a capitalist, I embodied what Senator Everett Dickerson said relative to principles. I am a man of many fixed principles, the first of which is to be flexible at all times. Now, however, I embrace what Aaron Tippin sings about. You have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Jefferson County, my home county in Birmingham, and the state of Alabama are facing their own respective tsunamis. The problems, for the most part, stem from hypocrisy, inequality, and nepotism. My home county, Jefferson County, may become the nation's largest municipal bankruptcy. And it may be just that because of corruption and past and present improper management and lack of fiscal prudence. Basically, Jefferson County is where it is due to a lack of fiscal irresponsibility. Relative to the state, we are in proration. We have inefficiencies and we are bleeding. There is a lot of talk, but no action being taken to stop the bleeding. We have cash, and we're not broke yet. The state has a healthcare tsunami heading its way, which I will detail later on. Another problem is voter nepotism. which to understand, you must first understand that government is no different than business. The executive branch is management. The legislative branch, the House and Senate, is the board of directors. And we, the people, the taxpayers, are the stockholders, the owners. We can't blame the legislators, the members of the House and Senate, for fiscal dilemmas. The ultimate responsibility, their ultimate responsibility, however, is oversight. They are the board of directors. The ultimate responsibility lies in the executive branch. The CEO is the governor. The executive branch implements policy, that which the legislature enacts. Simply put, a good legislator does not necessarily make a good chief executive. Comparatively, a good player does not necessarily make a good coach. Make no mistake, the employees are the ones who make it work, however. They are the biggest asset. They know where the bleeders, the inefficiencies are, but department heads and supervisors don't care what someone beneath them thinks. They don't care what they have to say, as it might be determined that the person in charge is really the problem. Senator Everett Dickerson said, "There is no force so powerful as an idea whose time has come." We need to embrace and engage the employees. As I mentioned earlier, my home county of Jefferson County, their problems stem from lack of centralization, standardization, and economies of scale. Additionally, there is an absence of what I call shared sacrifice, where everyone from the top down tightens their belt and takes a pay cut. Instead, we just whack employees, toss them out like garbage. Then those that are left, we want them to work harder for less money, while the commissioners and their staffs don't do anything. Jefferson County has a legal department called the County Attorney's Office, in which the lead attorney makes more than $400,000 a year, more than the President of the United States. In addition, every attorney in that department, except one, makes more than $250,000 a year, which, to give you a comparison, is more than the state and the United States Attorney Generals. This legal department, in the last 10 years, has spent nearly $30 million in outside legal fees. Again, Albert Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. In the state of Alabama, there are 180 plus agencies that comprise the state. All are their own independent kingdoms, doing their own thing, spending their own budgets, as the department heads and supervisors see fit, with total disregard for economies of scale and what is in the best interest of you, the people. Centralization, standardization, collective bargaining all produce an end result of money saved. It dramatically decreases unit costs. It used to be said by many people that I was so tight that if you gave me a penny, I would give you back fiber optic cable. If cost-cutting measures do not get us where we need to be, shared sacrifice will get us the rest of the way. If everyone will give a little, we will save a lot. If everybody from the top down will tighten their belt one notch, take a pay cut, nobody has to lose their job. That's the way a parking meter works. Parking meters only take nickel, dimes, and quarters, yet it adds up. Let me give you some examples of inefficiencies in bleeders. We all want our police departments, our state troopers, for example, to have the very best vehicles. Yet with all the mileage that the troopers put on the vehicles, they are having to find ways to not buy new vehicles. One of those ways is rebuilding the engines in those vehicles. They can only do that one time, one generation. Well, my position has been, after that vehicle is then retired as a police cruiser, it still has value as transportation. My recommendation has been to send it to one of the state vocational colleges and let the students in the auto shop retrofit that car as transportation. Put it into the transportation pool instead of buying new vehicles for all these agencies and departments. Same applies to HVAC systems. The state vocational colleges have HVAC curriculums, and these states have locations all over that have HVAC systems that need to be serviced. Let the students do the servicing. Centralized accounting and auditing is another area where there are tremendous inadequacies. This is something that saves a lot of money and keeps accounting data and information current and readily available when you centralize it. At one time, I had over 10 companies, each doing something different, and none of them had their own accounting department. Instead, I had an accounting office that handled all accounting-related functions for each company, including accounts receivable, accounts payable, and payroll. I won't bore you with all the details. I will say, however, that it was very economical, and I never waited more than a few minutes to get a report. How this relates to the state of Alabama is that each agency and department has its own internal accounting department to perform accounting duties and processing, which is unnecessary, duplicative, not effective, and not efficient. Furthermore, auditing should not be performed by someone on the inside. Yet most of the state agencies and departments have their own internal auditors. Auditing should be objective. I would form a state auditing department where all the various auditors throughout the state would work. These auditors would have no idea from one day to the next who or what they would be auditing. When an audit was needed to be performed, an auditor would be chosen randomly, and the audit itself would be objective.